Right, Witcher necklace is on. I'm ready. So overall, I'd say The Witcher Season 2 is good, but it's got problems. Arguably, the biggest problem of Season 2 is not following the source material and just having the writers and the showrunner just make things up for no reason. Like, I mean, the whole Volethmir subplot was just weird. Like, I was sitting there watching it going, like, who is this character? Like, is this a character from the later books or in the video games? I looked it up and no, she isn't. She's just a random made-up character, and it's kind of like, so what was the point of this character being in the show? Like, we didn't need a big bad for the end of the season because Season 2 was pretty much just adapting the Blood of Elves, and the Blood of Elves does not have much action in that book. So, I don't know why the writers were just like, yep, big monsters with basilisks and also a big evil witch lady, and yeah, like, why? We don't need that. Another one of my problems with Season 2 is that some of the characters in the show do not always reflect their book counterparts, namely Vesemir. Like, for the most part, Kim Bodnia is great as Vesemir, but the subplot where he wanted to turn Ciri into a Witcher was just weird, and it didn't make much sense. Like, he even goes to Ciri, one, it's your choice, but two, I don't think I could do this to Geralt because you are Geralt's child, and Geralt wouldn't allow me to do this. And yet, he goes along and tries to turn Ciri into a Witcher until Geralt stops him. Like, why would you have him acknowledge that, yeah, Geralt wouldn't want me to do this, and then have him go through with it? Like, it didn't make sense. I also think the show does not spend enough time in Kaer Morhen, because in Blood of Elves is a story about Ciri learning to become a warrior and a fighter, but also embracing her feminine side, and yet we don't really get much of her bonding with the witches. Like, we see them, talking occasionally, but the way it is portrayed in Blood of Elves, it's like she forms a close bond with the witches. They're like siblings almost. Don't really feel like that in the show. And speaking of the other witches, what was the point of killing Eskel? That was so dumb and so random, and it was like, why did you kill him off? Like, you turned him into a Leshy for no reason. Like, you could have done that to any random Witcher, and it still would have, led to the same effect. But killing off a named character like Eskel was dumb. Also, there was just no need to make the character of Eskel such an asshole. Like, if you wanted me to care about Eskel dying, don't make him a dick. The Ciri and Yennefer relationship in the show has also been tainted. In the Blood of Elves, Ciri and Yennefer develop a mother and daughter relationship. Yet in the show, we get it. Until then, we also learn that Yennefer is trying to sacrifice Ciri so she can get her magic back. And it's like, why would you do that? How am I supposed to buy Ciri thinking that Yennefer is her mother when her supposed mother tried to sacrifice her for her own gain so she could get her magic back? Also, nerfing Yennefer was so pointless and so stupid. Like, why? It was honestly really boring to watch most of the time. Like, Anya Chalotra does a good job as Yennefer, but just seeing her appear on screen without any magic, it's boring. She's just going from place to place going like, I have to run away. I don't care. I came to here to see Yennefer the Mage, and we don't get Yennefer the Mage for like most of the season. And I'm not gonna lie, the overall narrative through line of Season 2, that being the politics with the elves and Nilfgaard, like, I didn't care. I found it to be boring most of the time. And granted, the Witcher books do go along a similar path. They are much more political and they focus more on the elves and Nilfgaard, but just, to me, it's kind of boring. Like, when I think of The Witcher, I think of Geralt of Rivia, the monster hunter, the unfeeling mutant who does care but doesn't want the world to think so. And so seeing the show take that sort of focus away from that, and instead it's just all this politics with the elves, like, it's kind of boring. Like, don't get me wrong, there are good moments in it. Like, for example, when Francesca starts killing all the babies in Sintra after her baby ended up dying. That was really brutal. That was really dark. That was cool. And the reveal that Emperor Mir is actually Dooney is a good twist. I'm pretty sure that's from the books. I don't think I've gotten there yet. I've just started the Time of Contempt. And I'm about a couple of chapters in, and there's this bit where Geralt goes to Codringer and Fen, and they start talking about Ciri's heritage and how she may not actually be legitimate heir to Sintra and all that. And I think that's meant to be the setup for, oh yeah, she's not related to Calanthe, she's actually, like, Nilfgaard or whatever. Or maybe she is related to Calanthe. Either way, I'm pretty sure that is foreshadowed in Time of Contempt. And from what I've been told in The Witcher 3, she's claimed to be the heir of Nilfgaard, so I'm pretty sure that is just a thing from the books. And whilst having Emperor Mir, Dooney, whatever you want to call him, be the sort of main antagonist for the show, that's interesting. That could be really cool in the future, but it's just, the show needs to stick to the source material in order for that to be interesting, I think. Because I won't lie, I think I've become that kind of person who's just like, the books are better. Like, after all the number of fantasy adaptations I've seen, and like, seeing them go down a bad path when they start changing the source material, Wheel of Time. Yeah, it's just stick to the books. But also, seeing as how season 2 is pulling a lot from the Blood of Elves, there isn't enough of the lore from the books in the show. Like, there isn't that tale of the Blood of Elves, and then Geralt and Ciri don't visit that shrine with all the flowers. Like, none of that is in the show, and it's like, if you're adapting Blood of Elves and you want to, you know, show the conflict between the elves and Nilfgaard and the elves' struggle and plight, show it to us, the audience. Because ultimately what we got was just a bunch of elves being refugees, and it's like, give us more to that. Also, they brought back Dara, and Dara is a weird character in the sense of that in season 1, he's completely made up, and he's also just kind of pointless. Like, he shows up to help Ciri, and then he runs away from Ciri, and then he helps Ciri again, and then he's just like, oh no, you're related to Calanthe, your grandmother killed my kind for sport or whatever, and then he just leaves, and it's like, wait, so you developed a friendship with her, and then found out that she's related to the woman that killed your people, and then you were friends with her again because you helped her defeat the Doppler, and then you just ran away, and it's like, Dara, what are you doing? I also don't think season 2 fully explores Ciri's power and how she is a source that connects to the big wider power of the continent. I just don't think the show explores the mysticism behind it. Like, in the books, the witches are all present, Triss then, you know, enters Ciri's mind, and then after that, like, there is a force fighting back, and then suddenly Ciri is possessed, this voice comes out of her, and it's this big mystical moment, and like, everyone's like, oh my god, what the hell is she? This is far beyond our power. And then Triss is just like, Geralt, you need to get in touch with Yennefer, and you need to get her to Nenneke. Like, it's a really great moment in the book, and in the show, it's just Triss and Ciri walking down this hallway with a wide-angle lens and sort of a weird vignette effect, and just, it's not really that cool. Now, getting all the negatives out of the way, let's get to the good. Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia is fantastic. I loved him in season 1, and he's even better in season 2. And one of the things I loved most about Geralt of Rivia in this season was that we got a much more talkative and intelligent Geralt. Now, revisiting season 1, we do get an intelligent Geralt, but there are just many times where he says something intelligent, and then someone says something back, and then instead of, you know, him being like book or game Geralt of Rivia, where he will say something, you know, witty or intelligent back as a remark, he kind of just goes, or fuck. But in season 2, they just make him a bit more talkative and intelligent, and I appreciated that. Especially since he just felt more true to the books. Freya Allan is also good as Ciri, but I feel like I was expecting more from Ciri this season. Like, aside from her training, she doesn't really go on a journey, I'd say, of like self-discovery. Because again, Blood of Elves is a character piece about Ciri, and the way season 2 plays it, I don't feel like I learned enough about Ciri. Like, I don't feel like I was in her head enough. And despite some of the questionable writing choices, Anya Chalotra is still really good as Yennefer. And also, as I mentioned earlier, Kim Bodnia is great as Vesemir, despite the questionable writing choices. Like, I'm telling you, if you take out that subplot of him trying to turn Ciri into a Witcher, he's perfect. His portrayal of Vesemir is spot on. Now, easily one of the highlights of The Witcher Season 2 is Jaskier. Joey Beatty as Jaskier is just fucking perfect. And when I tell you that his introduction into the season is so perfect, like, it is the best thing. The scene where Yennefer is hiding with all the refugees, and then you just hear this voice in the distance, you're like, hold on, is that? And then you hear him go, ladies and gentlemen, you have been the most beautiful audience. Remember to toss a coin if you can. If anyone needs me, I'll be at the bar. It is so perfectly timed, and Yennefer's reaction is also great. Like, she's at one of her lowest points, and then she hears a familiar voice and she starts smiling. It's a really great character moment. Also, Burn Butcher Burn is just the fucking best. What for to yearn is the point of no return. After everything we did, we saw. You turned your back on me, what for to yearn? Watch that butcher burn. Now, we may not have gotten many Jaskier songs this season. There's only 3, but they are all amazing. Burn Butcher Burn is amazing and is probably the best song this season. It is just It's so great. Like, if anything, that is like the best breakup song ever. Horse and Blues is just so catchy. Like, it's great. So lock me up and suck me up and throw away the key. Go fuck yourself, you horsin', cause you're through fucking with me. And I won't lie, as much as I love Burn Butcher Burn, I think the golden one is just as good as that song. It is so damn catchy. Every time I listen to it, it just puts me in the mood to go on an adventure. Like, just, it's so good. The golden one with the golden rules. 2 warrior bells with all the tools. And of course, the reunion scene between Geralt and Jaskier was great. Like, Jaskier's all just like, fuck Geralt, he's the fucking worst. And he just sees him and he's like, oh my god, Geralt, And then Geralt's just like, I missed you, Jaskier. Like, yeah, Geralt and Jaskier have, like, the best bromance. And I will say, the amount of monsters we did get this season was pretty cool. Like, yeah, seeing the Leshy was pretty cool. The flying demon thing that was chasing Geralt and Ciri, that was cool. And the action was also really great. I think the standout fight for me was the fight at Melitelli's temple. Like, it was just so cool. Like, Geralt's just going around, like, you know, punching people with his bare fist, knocking out teeth, and then, like, just killing everyone in the room. Like, it's really cool. Also, Rip Roach. That was really sad, actually, seeing Roach die. And Geralt gets a new horse, and I won't lie, I kind of wish they did the thing from the books where every time Geralt gets a new horse, he names it Roach. Like, to me, that's just a book thing that they should have done in the show. If I had to pick what my favorite episode of the season was, like, easily, it's episode 1. The retelling of the Nivellen story was amazing. Like, including Ciri into the story was fine, and it fit well into the show. And overall, it was just amazing. Like, you know, you've got Christopher Hissrich, who plays Tormund Giantsbane in Game of Thrones.
Tormund Giantsbane was played by Christopher Hivju.
Yeah, Christopher Hivju was great. Also, the way the show depicted the Bruxa was great. Like, she was beautiful, but she had those weird, messed up eyes. Like, it was creepy and scary. And the final fight with Geralt and Ciri fighting the Bruxa and then Nivellen intervening, that was also really great. And the thing about the Nivellen story that I remember when the show did it that I kind of forgot going into the season was that Nivellen raped the priestess at the temple, which I forgot all about. And then as soon as he said it, I was like, oh yeah, that is the twist, isn't it? Like, that's kind of oh no. And Geralt's reaction to that was perfect when Nivellen's like, kill me, and Geralt's just like, you're mortal now, do it yourself. Like, that was awesome. Like, I'm telling you, when they actually adapt the source material, they do it really well. Like, despite the weird non-linear storytelling of Season 1, when Season 1 actually adapted the short stories, for the most part, they were done pretty well, and they were the best parts of Season 1. Like, revisiting Season 1, my favorite episode now is actually the Gold Dragon story, because it's really good. The way the show adapts it is really great. And it kind of just proves that when you actually adapt the source material properly, then you end up making a great episode of television. Another highlight to Season 2 was also the increased budget and production value. Like, yes, the monsters are not, 100% photorealistic, but the CGI on them is good. Like, yes, you can tell they're CG, but the actual texture work done on the CGI creatures is great, and I love the production design and the costuming. Geralt's new armor is great. And one of the cool little details in Kaer Morhen is that on the tree with all the Witcher pendants, you see the Witcher 3 pendant, which I think is really cool. That's a nice, cool detail. And the score for Season 2 overall is also really strong. To me, it is missing some of the Slavic, vocal performances that we got in Season 1 of The Witcher. With the main Witcher theme that yeah, whenever you hear that in Season 2, you don't really get the Slavic vocals, and I'm like, I want that. That's what made the theme in Season 1 so unique and interesting. Though I will say, a cool little detail is that the theme for Kaer Morhen is actually an instrumental version of the Song of the White Wolf, the song from Season 1. I thought that was really cool. Like, that's a nice detail. That's stuff I like and appreciate. And overall, Season 2 of The Witcher, I would say, is good. I think I still prefer Season 1 just because I like the short story content of The Witcher more. Even when it comes to the books, even though I've only read The Blood of Elves and I've just started The Time of Contempt, I just prefer the short stories, just seeing Geralt go on, quests and missions and the lessons and, him trying to be the Witcher persona, the stoic character, the one that doesn't feel, but also he does feel and he does care, and you see that in the short stories. They're just more interesting than the main, Witcher narrative. And even though Season 2 is adapting material that I would say is lesser than the short stories, that being the main series of the Witcher books, the changes done by the showrunner and the writer they're not needed. Like, just stick to the books, because when you start trying to write your own thing, then also trying to follow the books and picking and choosing and not fully going through with everything, it messes up character dynamics and relationships. Like, just, it doesn't work. For season 3, they need to start adapting the book properly. And yes, you can put in more monsters, because that's one of the things the showrunner Lauren S. Hissrich wanted. She wanted more monsters in season 2. Like, yes, you can do more of those quest type things with Geralt going to fight monsters, but you don't need that to derail the overall arching narrative from the books. Like, seeing the witches fight the basilisks in the finale was cool, but aside from Geralt and Lambert and Vesemir, most of the other witches were pretty useless. Like, if you want to inject more action into the scripts and into the story, you have to make it make sense. But I mean, I still like the show and I am excited for season 3, it's just that I hope with season 3 they learn from the mistakes of season 2. Because it seems like they learned from the mistakes of season 1, so now they just need to learn from the mistakes of season 2. But what did you guys think of The Witcher season 2? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you like it more than season 1? Did you like it less than season 1? Let me know in the comments down below. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been the most beautiful audience. Remember to like and subscribe if you can. If anyone needs me, I'll be at the bar. One for the earn.